In the previous tutorial, we learned what a custom hook is. In this tutorial, my plan is to give you another example so that you can understand like what exactly happening when you create a custom hooks, right? Okay, so I have this component. Let me make it a little big, I think. Okay, so we have an input box with first name, last name, and it is showing the combination of two names, John Smith, right? So if I write anything here, we can see it updating live on our screen. So how would you create this kind of component in React with custom hooks? So let's see that our code. So basically what I'm importing this component called form. This is the component form. Pretty simple component, nothing crazy happening here. We have first input box, second input box, and we're just combining those two values. So first of all, if you understand, we have in input, we have two properties, value and onChange. So value is the initial value what you want to give it. You can put it blank, it's totally up to you, or you can give it some value. And onChange is the event listener. So whatever you type, this onChange will look into that. If you start typing something, then onChange will listen and see what's going on. And don't worry if you don't understand forms, because in the next video, my goal is to go deep in forms. How do you do validation? How do you form submission? How do you do like onChange event listener? And how do you add values? So if you cannot understand everything, just try to understand as much as you can, right? Because once you have those forms lesson, I think then you should come back to this so that you can understand even more. Because the purpose of learning is not to do just one tutorial once and get done with it. The purpose is to relearn something, right? Okay, so we can see we have this first name props. It's coming from this use form input. What's that? So this is the custom hook we created. Now what we have a use state. We're giving it a value, initial value, and the set value is inside the handle chain. So as soon as you start typing, this function will run basically, because handle change takes care of anything happening inside. And whatever what we are doing here is we're just passing e.target.value. What's that? So let's just do a simple thing. Let's just console that e is, and then we can just do e. Nothing fancy here, right? Oh, I need to put a comma here. I was like, that's kind of silly. Let's refresh that and see if that's working. Yeah, so now we have e. So if you go, we have e is an event, and the event has a lot of things. What we're looking into target, and the target has something called value. I think value goes here, e.target.value, and we are not seeing, oh, here it is, it was hiding. So the value is this. So if you clear that, if you come here and you start typing, every time you type, you get a different e, because every time it's a different event, right? Whatever you type, what is the final event? Sorry, the value you can see here. And then you can see the type here, e.target.value, and we have this value here. So that is what we are grabbing here. This is what we're passing into our setter function. And at the end, we are passing these two things, value and handle change, inside this object, and then we are returning this object. That's all we're doing. So that the reason we are using object here, so that we can have different properties attached to it. So input.value, we can get the value. Input.onChange, we can get this handle change. So if you come here, this is what we're doing. We're passing now the first name prop. When we pass use input, the John comes here because John is the initial value. And as you type, that setter function will feed this value variable, whatever you're typing, and you can grab that here in the first name prop. And again, same thing with the onChange. You can grab that onChange. See, we don't have any onChange function here. Like we don't have it here because it's coming from this this custom hook use form input. And basically after that, we are just combining them. And I know this can, if you never worked with form, you will be like, oh, I don't know what's going on here. So that's okay. Next, we are going to talk about forms, and then I would highly recommend come back and understand this. If you cannot understand forms, then it can be a little tricky. But basically, what's happening here is if you just didn't get anything, just understand. Custom hooks gives you properties which you don't need to define in your own component. You can import them from somewhere else. How it is working there, you should understand that. But if you cannot, just get this. We don't have any on change function here in the component. And beauty is we can use this use form in any of our forms. So if you have, let's say 5 or 10 forms and you're doing the same thing, you're putting a handle chain there, why are you doing that, right? You can just define at one place, export whatever functions you want to or value you want to export. We are exporting it inside an object because it's easy that way, and you can just grab that here. That's it. That's the simplest thing you can think of when you think of custom hooks. It is just you're grabbing some values from somewhere defined, some elsewhere defined in your project. You're grabbing them, using them, and other components can use it. That's it. In the next, we are going to go deep in forms and event handler. Going to go in forms, how to submit a form, how to validate the form, and all those funny things. Forms are really important because, see, if you think about, if you post a comment on Instagram, it is a form submission, right? Because you are posting it. So the forms are everywhere on web, like everything is form basically. Thank you. Meet you in the next video.